Welcome again to the Prime Mover Podcast, where we ignite the engine of your success in faith, family, finance, and fitness. Join us as we explore the power of being a prime mover in both your professional and personal life. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Prime Mover Podcast. We are super excited. This is probably going to be our last episode without guests. We put a call out there for guests, and we wanted top level entrepreneurs, prime movers, speakers, motivational coaches, and we probably have about 15
I think
high
right
level
now
guests?
about 15 right now that have already come to the website, signed up, and
Awesome.
Pretty exciting.
So Prime Mover Podcast. Let's start off by talking about what a prime mover is. Prime mover is a person, place, or thing that creates energy, creates motion, and gets the ball rolling. So if prime mover defines your personality, go to our website, primemoverpodcast.com, fill out the form. It'll ask you for a headshot, some of your topics that you like to speak about, and we would be thrilled to have you on. So primemoverpodcast.com, that's what a prime mover is to us. And I got a few topics I want to hit today on our show. But yeah, episode 2, December 29th, 23. And we are excited for what January is going to bring in 24.
Yeah, 24 is going to be an awesome time, and just looking forward to the podcast, looking forward to kind of the few business opportunities that we have presented. And so we're super excited.
Excited to share the journey with y'all. Again, we decided to establish this podcast to use it as obviously an advertising medium for Gen Gators, but as prime movers, we have our hands in a few other things. Gen X marketing is getting off the ground now, and management. We have several proposals out, and so we'll be unpacking those things along the way with you guys, and just want to speak about business and life and how to balance everything, and speaking to you from in the game rather than through theory. We're going to speak the truth. So
yeah, for sure.
We get rolling, man. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about something we're building here. I think it's a tip for service companies of any shape and size. Would be the 5 R's of service. And so where this comes from is a little bit of history on how we built a service department here. Oil and gas business for 17 to 18 plus years. And in that process, what happens in the oil and gas industry, and I've seen it for so long, is the clients are a moving target. Or should I say the level of satisfaction or client fulfillment, it's a moving target. The oil field is predicated on fossil fuels. It's a global driven economy, a globally driven industry. A lot of politics involved with what drives oil and gas industry and leases and whatnot. So if you've ever done any type of research in oil and gas, or you've worked in it, you understand what I'm talking about. But with that said, there are times whenever a business is going really well in the oil field, and the driver is financials. The driver is the best price for a job. The driver is how fast can you go? Can you finish the job ahead of everybody? And also, what's the quality of your work? And so that brings in a mantra that we've used a lot over the 20 years is cheap, fast, and good. You can only pick 2. So
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I like just go ahead and we could break that up. Cheap and fast, probably going to lose quality. Cheap and good, you're probably going to lose some speed. And fast and good, man, that's not going to be cheap. So
that's going to be expensive.
That's where it gets expensive. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the 5 R's of service, something that we built here recently on the heels of, a client dissatisfaction story. It happens, as much as we aim to push for 5-star reviews and stuff like that. Not only does Google and the world of the internet suppress them, it takes a lot nowadays to please a client. The justification of that for us is we've done it in the oil field for so long and hit a moving target, we felt like, for so long, that coming into the home services business, it would be a little easier target because we could build some rapport with the clients.
Yeah, the rapport with the clients is actually one of the 5 R's. But rapport matters because unlike the oil field, I mean, you're dealing with something that's near and dear to that person. That's their home. That's where they live. That's their sanctuary. You know?
And and the fact of the matter is, you're dealing with the check writer.
Yeah.
These are the people who's writing the check. It's not a supervisor, not a boss, not a project manager. They're writing the check. You're in their yard. You're in their home. And when they write you that check for a new generator, a new installation, or electrical or HVAC, I can promise you that they are monitoring their value.
Sure. It's right out of their own checkbook.
That's right.
Even the CFO uses somebody else's account.
That's a fact. So yeah, that's awesome parts of the home services business that we've learned so far. But building systems, Nick talks about it a lot in our office, is a standard operating procedure is not just a written procedure. It's a standard in which we operate that just also happens to be written and recorded in our company handbook.
Yeah, you definitely want to, we try to differentiate between the actual operation, actually following the procedure, and having it written. If you ask a couple people around here, they'll tell you, I say things like, we could write on the walls, we can get it tattooed on your leg, but if you don't actually do them, if you don't work through that operation, it's useless.
Absolutely.
We can have stacks and stacks of books and binders. And ironically, that actually was a realization to me in my early years as a manager. We used to have these supervisors that came around, and it was critique your work, man. Like, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. And so being a cocky young guy, I'm like, that's great. I know what's wrong. Why don't you tell me how to fix it?
Yeah.
And then the guy said, not a problem. Follow me.
Yeah.
See these 12 binders? Why don't you read them and use them and follow them?
Yeah.
And that really stuck to me throughout my entire career.
It's worked for companies like McDonald's.
Yeah.
And so it's proven. But when you do it in a small business, employees don't want to hear how much you know. They want to see how much you do. They want to see you live out not only core values but standard operating procedures. And so that's where we're going to go into core values after we go over the 5 R's. So without further ado, we got a drum roll on that board.
I don't have a drum roll on the board. I can do an audience.
Symbol?
Yeah, how about an applause?
There we go. Yeah.
About to do it. Here comes the
5
5 R's.
Yeah, 5 R's of service. So the 5 R's of service is we're going to respond, we're going to report, we're going to repair, we're going to replace, and we're going to build rapport. And I have some notes recorded on those, and we'll be getting them printed out here. But when we really lean in and sell this to our employees, and everything, people can talk about how sales is even can be used in an HR position.
Sure.
You're in an HR department, and you think I'm the furthest person away from being in sales. The fact of the matter is that you're selling policies to employees every single day. You're selling the way they should do their time. You're selling the insurance policy over to these employees. So you're
Behavior
selling
standards.
That's right. So you are selling the core values of the business at every level. And so the 5 R's of service can be applied to almost any part of the business. We begin service when something is broken. So as the HR person, as the service manager, as the CEO, the COO, all the way down to the janitor, when something is out of order, we got to be ready to respond. I think being first, being maniacal, being intentional, immediately finding the pain point, processing that information at a rapid rate of speed, instilling a comforting message into the client and during that response, scheduling them immediately, dispatching quickly, arriving with a sense of urgency, troubleshooting thoroughly, planning professionally, and inform emphatically. That to me is response in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think just that how you respond actually gives your level of professionalism.
In my 100%. In my home, we talk about it a lot. Like, I got teenage daughters. You got teenage daughters. So you know what language I'm about to speak. Every now and then if I text one of my daughters and it's something like, hey babe, be careful on your way home. We just got all the dishes put up, and you're the only one to cook, so I'd appreciate it if you'd wash those dishes in the sink. I don't get a response.
Right.
But when I said, hey, we're going to dinner tonight, get dressed up, blah, 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 I get an immediate response. So, hey, that's a teenage kid, so I'm trying to teach him to be a pro. Like, hey, Dad, I don't think I should have to wash the dishes, or yes, sir, I'll get it done. I'm so big on response. I'm starting to even try to instill it in my teenage kids who don't value response near as much as I do, for sure.
And even like with the Gen Gators, that's a core value. Really, is the
Absolutely.
response and how we respond to things, how quickly you do it. Like Travis said, I mean, there's just imagine if you are a doctor or an oncologist, a cancer doctor, and you don't have a good response. And I'm not talking about like your patients call you, or you don't even give them the diagnosis, or you don't reply to tests. I mean, there's just things like it would blow your mind to say, "Hey, man, my doctor didn't even call me back with my tests." I mean, that would
at every level of leadership. Let's talk about earthly leadership, from the president of the United States all the way down to, the lowest guy on the corporate ladder or private ladder or public ladder or political ladder. The higher you go up, the more people expect you to respond.
Right.
If you look at our country right now, our executive branch leadership doesn't respond very well. I don't think that's a political statement. I think that's a factual statement. I think as American citizens, we would much rather a maniacal level of response from our commander-in-chief and that executive branch. But you know what? That's a product of policies and procedures and voting and whatnot that maybe not every U.S. citizen has full control over. So we have some division, and we'd like to see some response. So on every level, the janitor responding to a spilled drink in a restaurant, or the commander-in-chief of the United States responding to a threat or an economic recession or a crash or an allegation, it's super valuable. I don't believe there's anybody that doesn't value response. They just may not think of it that way.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's what happens. People don't really understand that the response is, that's what it takes for business. Right?
That's what we
if
move
you
forward,
never respond to anyone, if customers call you, you never call them back. If customers,
that's actually a real thing.
Yeah,
I hear that a lot. Like so and so, they don't answer their phone. I'm like, man. So let's move on. So we got respond, we got report. So when you arrive, we are looking for clear and concise communication. We want you to notify the team immediately. If it's a warranty situation, notify the manufacturer promptly with details, planning, and outlining the repairs. Warn the manufacturer of intent to rectify or replace. When you are speaking to a manufacturer on behalf of a client, I want everybody to hear me clearly now. And so if a manufacturer hears this, and you want to talk about it, pick up the phone, give us a call. As a dealer, when we sell product to a home service client, especially if they're a maintenance contract holder, I don't care what it is, air conditioning, heater, furnace, plumbing, electrical, power generation, whatever, if they trust you enough to not only buy, but also contract you for a service, is there a warranty issue? Immediately warn the manufacturer of your intent to rectify or replace. Be bold. Speak on behalf of the client. Keep all parties abreast of model number, serial number, hours, location. Details, 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 details. When I say report, it is only second to response, but the devil is in the details. The profit is in the details. What matters is in the details. So when we do reporting, when we're talking about the 5 R's of effective service, it is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes down to manufacturers and warranties, and I don't want to beat them up, but I want them, for any manufacturers that are listening, I mean, this is part of your brand.
Yeah.
When a dealer reports a warranty issue, and because you can have the best warranty, you can have a 50-year warranty on your product, but if you don't respond, and if you don't respond as a manufacturer to our reports, then you're actually hurting the brand and our company's reputation. And that's I don't know if some manufacturers look at it that way. I don't know if they view it that way. And so if you're producing a good, if you're being able to just report, it's communication keys, but also to have that response and then to report. So that's a big deal for us in terms of just making sure we know the details, communicating with our manufacturers, let them know that, hey, this is going on, this is happening. And then just think of it from a team perspective, reporting back to the office. I mean, letting the boss, your supervisor, know what's going on, know what you're doing. Again, that goes back, I think, speaks to professionalism. If I can let my
Absolutely.
supervisor know, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done, this is what I see.
Yep.
I think that's a
Yeah.
great way to operate any home service business.
Yeah, any business in general. I think what we will always talk about here is, man, you're my eyes and ears in the field. You're my corporate backbone out in the field. So when I'm talking about to manufacturers or speaking to the manufacturer, you're speaking on behalf of the client. So being bold, being concise, being accurate, being a pro is going to matter when it comes to reporting warranties. The next part, we got respond, report, we have repair. We are going to make every attempt to follow factory protocol unless the brand is in jeopardy. He spoke to that a second ago. We want to protect the brand. If that means replacing a unit because our repair schedule or format or availability of material is going to jeopardize the client's use of its intended product, then don't jeopardize the brand. Be clean, be efficient, be precise, be a professional, be honest. Be the authority in your space. Go above and beyond. One of my favorite quotes is, there's no traffic on the extra mile. Do more. Use authoritative language. When you speak to a client, it's not, I think, maybe. It's yes, ma'am, yes, sir. I am well versed in this product. I will get you going, not I'm hoping to get you going. Take that opportunity to upsell your corporate value. That's a level of currency we talk about here. I don't mean upsell material. I mean make sure the client understands that our value is what matters, and you upsell our value. And last but not least, when it's the repair part of the 5 R's of service, one of the big thing I noticed in my oil field career was, we worked on offshore oil and gas rigs, vessels, towboats, barges, drilling rigs, semi-submersible ships, gasoline tankers, grain carriers, cranes, winches, you name it. And at any given time, you might have 8 to 10 prime movers on that barge. You might have 4 winches. You might have 4 generators. You might have a dive compressor. You might have a couple of cranes. You got a hotel standby generator. You got pumps and cargo pumps and ballast pumps and just an array of prime mover engines on the barge doing different things. So you get dispatched out for the number 1 power gen source with an oil leak. A pro is going to audit the entire site. So let's talk about that from a home service perspective. You get called out because the client may smell a gas leak. Well, the last thing we want to do is show up, sniff the gas line, find the leak, repair the leak. Don't go into service with blinders on. People want to take it as, oh, you only want me to upsell. No, I don't want to make a repeat trip to the client's house for something we could have caught when we were out there for X. So not just solving for X, solve for X, Y, and Z when you make repairs.
Yeah, go beyond that extra mile, like you just said.
Absolutely. No traffic on the extra mile, baby.
I think that's a huge step, is just making sure that you're out there, the cover's off of the unit or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like check the wires, check the coils. I mean, if you're
like
AC guy, if it was your unit that had a problem, what would you do? You check every nook and cranny. So that's what we want our guys to do, and I think that's just, again,
that's what our guys do.
That is what our guys do,
and we hold them accountable for that. So yeah.
But again, I think that goes to professionalism. I'm going to bring everything back to professionalism. If you haven't caught that yet,
be a pro. That's happens to be a core value. So you hear that a lot. And then the 4th R of service. So we got to respond, report, replace. We are at repair and then replace. Here's where I'm at on the replace. Obviously, if you got to replace units, whatever, listen, man, there's tons of podcasts out there in the HVAC space. Probably the most well-spoken, well-represented industry out there in the world of podcasts and YouTube and videos and whatnot. So home service business, guys, I'm not necessarily talking to you. This is not me speaking from a guru, man. I got 20 plus years of wrenches and calluses on these hands, so I've been there. But here's where I fall in terms of replacing equipment. Do not compromise profitability or repair protocols if replacement is justified. If the right thing to do is to replace new equipment under warranty, or the right thing to do is to replace failed equipment, all you do is diminish your corporate value if you sacrifice profitability and basic repair protocols just to get a replacement. It has to be justified. You have to be selling something of tangible value to a client. So when we replace, we are going to be expected to perform at the most elite level.
Yes.
When you do a repair on somebody's equipment, they don't get to see the tricks of the trade that get you to solve for X. But when you do a replacement and the client is writing a bigger check, you better believe you're going to be called on to operate at a higher standard, and you will have way more risk. And so your reward has to match that. So treat the unit like you bought it. Become a client advocate. When you're doing a replacement, you have to become an advocate to the client. I'm not saying good cop, bad cop to the office, but that client has to know that Russell, John, Jane, whoever my service tech is that's in my house or in my yard, they are here for me. So when you begin to do that replacement, you remove that spirit of fear, that spirit of fence out of the customer by being an advocate. Become convicting. Plan a half-day swap on a unit swap. If we want to swap a unit, we want to try to do these things in a half-day period. That can't always happen in every industry, but we want to be really, really efficient. We're going to be, we're operating off a short leash with the client, so we want to be really efficient. Attempt to furnish, and if you're in a power gen space, if it's a long replacement, attempt to furnish an outage plan. If you're going to remove a generator from a house during the middle of storm season and it's going to take you 2 weeks, what kind of options can you give the client to retain a backup plan? Back to reporting, but taking copious notes, take copious photos, save, bag, and tag every component if it's warranty. Treat the job like you would be the warranty admin at the manufacturer receiving the failed goods to make a judgment. If I give you too much information, that just gives the warranty admin less time to make a decision, less reasons to deny it. So it goes back to being a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes down to working warranty claims, the more information you have, the more you can show, hey, look, this was a failed part, not because of abuse, not because of misinstallation or anything like that. That was a manufacturer defect. The better you can show that, the more you report in the repair and you got time to replace, this just makes it an easier decision for them to say, hey, yeah,
amen,
that's on us.
Yeah, man. So look, this is my favorite part. So we're in the 5 R's of service. We're training our technicians very soon on the extenuated. We've talked about stuff like this before: respond, report, repair, replace, and build rapport, but putting strategic measures in place, adding our core values into this is something that we're new to building now. So when we finish the 5 R's of service with rapport, we mean rapport with the client. Yes. Everything we do in our business, and I believe every repair and service company, whether it's an auto shop, paint and body shop, heavy big rig truck shop, diesel engine shop, electrical shop, power gen, HVAC, whatever, everything that we do is based on the relationships. It's our business is quantified in B2B or B2C, business to consumer or business to business, but you formulate a relationship with the client. So everything that we do is based on relationships. Sure, we would love all of those relationships to be contractually binding, but that's not the case. The contract that we love here is that the client chooses us. We're a negotiated contract, not a proposed contract. So everything we do is based on relationships. Treat the client with the same sense of urgency and concern you would expect if you were bringing your vehicle or your home service technician was coming into your home, especially if it's a warrantable failure or within a short period of time. Treat them with the same sense of urgency you would expect. Openly discuss and embody our GRIP core values. This is, again, to our employees. Our core values are GRIP. We'll break that out here in a second. But we openly discuss that not only with our staff, but with our clients. When your clients know who you are and what you stand for, a lot of times that and that alone, as long as you embody it, will kind of predetermine a response from an upset client. If they know you value certain values that they value and you wear it on your sleeve, then when you have a premature failure, maybe you get a little grace because you share in that way of operating with your client. This is us speaking to a technician. It is your responsibility to grow the client relationship, respond with urgency, impact the client, and professionally care for the client and equip them for success with whatever product they have. That's our grip mindset. So we want to not only share our core values with our clients, with our employees and our team, but we want to share it with our clients as well, because we feel that builds some professionalism, gives us an opportunity to receive grace when things don't always go as planned.
Yeah, and let's just face it, things will not always go as planned. It's going to happen. We have bad days. We have from manufacturing down to possibly what we've done. Office drops the ball, technicians drop the ball, manufacturing drops the ball, but we got to be there to pick it up. And like Travis says, getting back to the grip, man, the growth mindset, responding, which is part of the 5 R's of service, being a positive impact, and breaking down to being professionalism. And the rapport with the client matters, because it's amazing just how a person that has a rapport with another person can step on the scene or pick up the phone and everything settles. All the dust settles. Because
we see this every day.
Right.
We see this every day. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. We built, basically, when you buy a generator from us, from Gen Gators, you receive, we go into our CRM, and our CRM guides you through the process. And so you'll get an email when your unit has been selected from the shelf and the serial number is assigned. You'll get introduced to your generator. We'll tell you when we apply for the permit. We'll give you a checklist of things to be preparing for on your end. We'll give you an estimated time when we're going to dispatch and set up your service, when the concrete guy is going to show up to pour the slab, maybe when the gas line guys arrive. So we're going to walk you through every step of the process. Well, guess what? There's humans involved in that. So sometimes humans get in accidents or fall sick or hit a traffic jam, and the things that were promised to them in writing don't always happen to come to fruition. What do you do in that regard? Every single time here, the fireman is the person who built the most rapport with the clients.
Absolutely.
1,000%. Every single time is when things don't go right and a client responds with a spirit of offense. The person that can put out that fire is whoever built the most rapport with the client.
Absolutely. And that rapport will do amazing things. I've seen on so many levels in different businesses and different situations where, just the right person showing up, having a conversation with the client, and everything is smooth. I mean, we talk about clients that are extremely upset using some choice words, and then the right person shows up, or the person that has that rapport, and then everything settles down. And I've even seen people call back and apologize. Hey, I didn't really mean to be that way. I was just upset. And it's no problem. We understand. You have emotions. You have expectations. They weren't met. They were dropped. But that rapport gets it done, and it calms the situation more often than not. And you keep that rapport with that client, and you extend that lifelong value of that client. They continue to trust you and to, get extended services with you. And they understand that, look, you're not doing it out of intent. And sometimes there's just things that happen, and we're doing everything we can humanly possible to rectify that situation, make it right. And even in the rectification, if we want to go 6 R's, right? Rectify the situation, right? That rapport that actually builds the rapport. Because sometimes people are like, hey, we had a conversation earlier today where you talked about some quotes that went out, and you were honest with the guy and said, hey, there's nothing wrong with that product. That is it's a fine product and a great quote. Mm-hmm. Here's where we differ from that, and why.
Because they were cheaper. They were cheaper than we were.
Yeah.
And it was manufactured. Yeah. In short form, it's a very, very small manufacturing company. Mm-hmm. And so the guy sends me a screenshot of his quote and says, make me understand why they're a couple $1,000s cheaper than you. And, honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not low-hanging fruit to bash a competitor. But at the end of the day, I got to be honest with people, because that rapport is what's going to get the lifetime value or LTV out of a client.
Right.
And so the conversation went along the lines of, nah, man, they make a great product, but what I have here is readily developed, readily built, readily available. So if you have a problem with that equipment, when can you get parts if the manufacturer makes a handful of units per year versus getting material and service and warranty service on a piece of equipment that's mass produced, but very, very similar? I couldn't knock the product. I had nothing negative to say. They were less expensive and it was equally
great product.
Good product. But why is mine better? It's about allocation. It's about allocation of resources. We believe that our service is better. We believe that our response is maniacal. We believe that we'll give you a product that we can not only stock parts for, but we can locate if we can't do it. So,
but at the end of the day, that response, that honest response, help build that rapport with that client.
Absolutely.
And there's no doubt that coming is coming with us.
Amen. The Lord loved and grace and truth.
Right.
So I want to give clients truth, but I want to give it to them in a way that, I appreciate your business and I appreciate you challenging me and asking me these questions. If we don't get challenged on price and lead times and structure and value, you get caught up in these situations where everything's hunky-dory because you're dependent on a certain buyer's market. But, I had a friend talk to me about it yesterday who's in the online store space. And he explained that buyers are exhausted, man. Buyers are they're getting hammered over the head with ads.
Sure.
They're getting beat up and down. Every time they open their social media, it's an ad. Every time they open YouTube, it's an ad. And look, hey, we're part of that crowd. We do our fair share of branding and advertising online. But, what happened to providing an amazing service for a reputable value, reputable price, and then for what we advertise as our brand? Man, please, I don't want to be a company who's constantly saying, buy me, buy me, buy me. I'm not begging you to buy. I want you to buy from me because of that rapport. Because we operate in areas of core values and 5 R's of service and making sure that building client rapport, even though that comes with some honesty sometimes, it might sting a little bit, we try to do it with grace. So we're going to take a break and come back. And when we come back, we're going to dive into wrap up the episode on core values. And we'll use ours at Gen Gators for an example on how to lead through core values and how to hire and fire through core values. So thank you to our sponsors, Gen X Marketing, Gen Gators Power Systems, and Bloom West Boutique. Thank you to our sponsors making this possible. And we'll be back with more Prime Mover Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Prime Mover Podcast. We'd just like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Gen X Marketing and Management Group, marketing and management systems for rotating equipment, and marketing for the power industry. Gen Gator Power Systems, residential, commercial, marine. Contact the Gen Gators for all your power generation needs. And Bloom West Boutique, an exclusive boutique offering quality fashion clothing with comfort and style. Thank you again to all our sponsors. Now let's get you back to the podcast.
And we're back with more Prime Movers Podcast. We have talked to you about the 5 R's of service. I've loved speaking about this. That's very passionate to me. I've been a service technician my whole life. And, this is what I'm about to talk about. How much time we got? We got some time?
Yeah.
How long have we been on for?
About 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. We've been on about 30?
On about 30.
Okay,
Give or take.
Good. So good. Let's spend a few minutes talking about core values. This was foreign to me in terms of what I thought I needed to be an entrepreneur. I'm reading a book right now, and in that book they were talking about 82% of businesses fail, startups fail, and the meat and potatoes of that is it's typically money, it's typically financial stress. I believe that knowing who you are as a business and who you aren't as a business is the currency that will keep you alive when the money side, when the financial side is kicking your teeth in. Because
that's not fun. We want to talk about money.
Yeah, well, I love to talk about money, but the currency that we're exchanging inside of our organizations now are core values. And so I wondered why there were so many people inside my organization. I guess the most I've had at one time is about 60 employees, and of those 60 employees, I haven't had a high churn rate. We moved in and out of a couple of different industries, and so it brought a different type of employee in each time. But I've employed a few hundred people. I'm sure there's people out there listening who maybe employed a few thousand or 100,000, or who knows. But out of the couple hundred people I've employed in my 20-year career, getting everyone to paddle in the same direction is not an easy task.
No.
You got some food service history.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. When we deal with high salaried, skilled labor in the industries that we're in right now. So if you're from the home service business or repair side, you're used to dealing with highly paid, trained, skilled labor. When you come from the restaurant or food services business in your career, how much harder is it to get people to paddle in the same direction that are on the lower spectrum of the pay scale?
It gets difficult, and the only way that it really works is having everybody have a mission statement, understanding your core values, and actually performing your SOPs.
Yeah, and having a roadmap to where you're going.
Yeah, because without it, man, it's very difficult being consistent. That would be one extra that's not part of, say, core values, is just consistency in your management styles. That could be a whole nother podcast. But being consistent is part of those, maintaining that core value, right? You need to consistently maintain those core values and keep people in line. And what I mean by in line is not like fussing them or coming down on them, but you have to build it to where it's repeatable. It's easily understand. They can easily understand. We all understand the goal and direction, and then you have to say it 1,000 times a day.
Yeah, people have to be told once, reminded often.
Yeah, we go there. Told once, reminded consistently.
Yeah, I agree. So when we developed core values, this is in the very beginning of the lifespan of Gen Gators. I started originally with 8 core values, and I decided to I wanted to make that digestible. So if you want to play a game with your core values, know who you are as the visionary or entrepreneur or leader or prime mover in the organization. Prime mover in your organization. You gotta know who you are. You gotta know you gotta know who you are, and you gotta know who you aren't. So if you want to create core values that people can have fun with, that people can memorize, you think that's not a big priority, but if they can memorize them and have fun with them, they'll put them to work. They'll put them to use. Sure. Not only in their business life, in their personal life. So you know what? It was something that I would say in tech meetings all the time. Like, man, we got to get a grip. We got to get a grip on what's going on. Like, yes, we want to be pros like Steph Curry and Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. These guys are pros. They weren't made on game days. They were made on the practice field.
Absolutely.
And so being a pro, you got to get a grip. And so I started saying that a lot. And I'm like, man, I want to use grip because my personal first core value is being growth minded. And so when you have a growth mindset, you are thinking about advancing in everything that you do. I don't want that to get confused with getting caught in the gap. It's very dangerous to get caught in the gap thinking of, man, all you can see is what you're not and the road you haven't traveled yet. But it's also important to not get caught too far in the game. You want to have a reality of where you are as a business owner, husband, father, wife, whatever suits your situation. And you want to know what you're not. And then one thing that I am is growth minded. And I found myself, it's hard for me to even be around people who have a poverty mindset. So if I'm going to be around and love on my family of choice and my employees, it's important to me that they have a growth mindset.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I kick around is, I stole this, so I didn't hear this, but recently I heard somebody say, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. Meaning that, like, part of that growth mindset is not worried about what others are doing. You're looking about for your growth,
ocean, baby.
Your trophy, if you will. Yep. And it just because one guy's making $100 million doesn't mean that that's where you have to be.
That's right.
Right? Like what is the, think of it more of becoming the person you want to be. Right? Like, this is my achievement. This is the growth mindset. So I think it's not just financial growth is my point. Yeah. It's not just professional growth in terms of where you are in a company, what level you are. Can you get to the C-suite? It's also personal growth. Like, how can I grow as a person? How can I grow as a father? How can I grow as a husband? How can I grow as just a good son or daughter?
That translates extremely well to the marketplace. I don't care where you fall on the totem pole in your business. Being a personally growth-minded individual translates well. And here we are with another R. It's our first 5R of service. The second letter of GRIP stands for response. Man, we talked about that so much. I'll reread it. Be first. Be maniacal. Be intentional. Find the pain point. Process information at a rapid rate of speed. Instill a comforting message in the counterpart. If you want to talk about response as a friend or relationship outside of the customer service industry, what about if you have a friend that's having a tough time? What if you are passing by and you see smoke coming from your neighbor's house? The way I'm wired, man, I'm a responder. I'm gonna ask for permission. I'll ask for forgiveness before permission. Like, I'm gonna get involved. If I see you struggling, I am going to respond. So that is who I am, and so it's easy for me to transition that to a core value of a company, because it's going to be easy for me to live out a growth mindset and live out being a responder. That way I don't have to talk about it so much. I just have to become that.
Yeah,
so you want to be about it, be about it. You know, you got to be it. You got to become that.
And look, I want to just touch on this a little bit. For those out there who I don't really have that growth mindset, but I want to have it.
That's great.
I'm not a great responder, but I want to be more responsive. And I'm not saying you have to follow our core values. I'm just saying, like, as you're sitting there saying, what core values I want out of myself in life, what core values do I want out of my company, if you're a young entrepreneur or just getting started, or, hey, maybe you've just been struggling for 20, 30 years as an entrepreneur and you want to take it to the next level. Like, what would you recommend or say, like, hey, how do you take that step in living that out as opposed to just writing it on paper?
People want to see you live it. Absolutely. Did you ask me a question?
I kind of did.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, the question was kind of like, what advice would you give somebody who wants to be responsive but is just naturally not,
or naturally not growth minded? Because some people think they are and they want to be, but they're actually not when you measure it out. Man, listen. There's some personalities tests. I sent one to you last night. I forget what it's called. The results come out as monkey, lion, camel, turtle, and man, knowing who you are. So there's a one called 16personalities.com. I took it. There's a
where you fell on that one? I think I sent you that one, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
I came out as a. Oh man,
that's one of my favorites, man.
Yeah,
that one's pretty insightful.
I gotta look it up now, but I
your
can't.
Individual.
It was so cool, and it was spot on for me.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. So if you have the chance to look at that one,
I want to find it up.
I'm not advocating; they're not a sponsor, but if you want to be,
yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty neat
Oh
one.
man, where's my?
That's all right. We'll look at it.
Yeah, we'll look at it. We'll come back to it. We'll talk about a couple of those assessments. There's a DISC assessment. There's a Myers-Briggs. There's a few personality tests. So take whatever personality test you can figure out about yourself. If you don't know who you are, you don't know who you aren't, start with that. Then it's okay to set core values that you want to obtain. So if I want my team to have a growth mindset, and maybe they check every box except the growth mindset, then that is our first core value. Guess what happens if I go out and live it, and I speak it, and I embody it, and I act it? Then you can, one of my mentors, Pastor Keith Craft, coaches on this. Act your way into a feeling instead of feeling your way into an action.
Yeah, I like that.
Because if I want to be growth minded, well, I gotta act that way, right? I gotta act. What is a growth minded person? They don't walk into rooms with the spirit of offense. They walk in to be a completer, not a competer. That's a growth mindset. So I'm gonna act as though I am, and therefore I will become.
Yeah, that's what I was fishing for, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want that because I think I don't want people to hear us and say, oh man, these guys are talking ethereal. Like we've had to walk that, right? And we weren't always in a growth mindset. We didn't always present professionally.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so it had to be purposeful steps, purposeful changes to walk
actionable,
the walk.
followable, duplicable.
Right. So if you decide, hey, this needs to be one of my core values and I'm personally not there, then how do I change? What behaviors do I need to change? Write down, like you said, take the personality test, see who you are, and then identify like, hey, look, you know what? If I'm a responder, but I sleep in late.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Set your alarm early.
Yep. Put your alarm clock. I had to do that. I put my alarm clock in a different room.
There you go. So you had to get up and walk across.
I had to get up and shut it down. And look, not that I wanted to sleep late, but there were some times when I got to a point in my career where there was not a big difference if I woke up at 4:30 versus 5:30 or 6:30. I could still get to the office, have a productive day, getting up late, still getting the gym in. But you know what? I'm looking at it as I like to make everything in my life a math problem.
Yeah.
So you can do that with core values as well. So if I know that I want to be a more responsive person, I'm going to figure out who I am and who I'm not. And then I'm going to write my vision and make it plain. I believe the Bible actually says that. I'm going to figure out exactly where I want to go, what I'm trying to obtain when I get there. And so I just fill in the gap of who I am and who I'm not versus where I'm going and what I'm trying to achieve, and I reverse engineer the steps. So if you want to create a core value of integrity, but you're a person who doesn't manage integrity very well, then you're going to have to hold yourself accountable, find a partner who's going to help hold you accountable, and then act your way into that feeling of being an integrous person. The next one is while we're on integrity, is impact.
Yeah.
So our growth, response, impact is our I. That to me is everything in the industry. Is what are we doing here? Like when we talk to our guys, I could ask that open question like, hey, what are we doing? When we talk about our team, what are we doing? Are we here just to provide a service? Or we're here just to make sales? Or we're here to change the game in our industry? And we believe a rising tide raises all ships. So we want to be completely different of the competition so we make such an amazing impact on the client. It's actually a sales tool. It's called retaining lifetime value.
Right.
By being so impactful, the client has no choice or no desire to do business elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, not to feather in my hat, but being knowledgeable about what you do, and then showing that value, making that impact for that client. In my sales career, I had clients that would say, a competitor would walk in and be like, nope. Before they even get to the door, before they were able to talk, before they would leave a card, they would tell them, hey, man, you can pack it up. We got Nick. Because it was again, not trying to feather my cap, but it was because I created such a value and an impact in their business that they were like, I don't need anybody else. This dude has been there for me. He has built that rapport. He has made a huge impact, a positive impact in my business, in my life, or whatever. And they'll turn away your competitors.
I believe impact is a KPI or measurable of value.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Like how I'm visualizing that. I'm visualizing and explaining it is, how do you meter and measure if you've given a client value? If you create a substantial impact, impart a substantial impact on them, that is a key performance indicator that you're adding value, in my opinion. So it's a measurable, it's the third letter of our core value acronym. And we wrap it up with how we started this whole conversation in the 5 R's. Professionalism. Man, look, I love sports analogies. Everybody who's been around me will tell you that I speak a lot on sports analogies because I believe that professional or college sports that are aired to the public is the last form of what we deem reality TV out there. It's typically unscripted, even though I think sometimes the referees or betting wagers or whatever tend to tip the scales.
Pete Rose.
But hey, it's the proof's in the pudding when it comes to being a pro. Think of every major sport out there that is unquestionable, or that becomes arguable. It is arguable that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player to ever live. You have people that's going to name several other people: Will Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Steph Curry. Steph Curry. Amen. Don't make me take my jacket off. Those people, it's arguable that they are the GOAT. Well, what is the one thing that is the glue that holds those guys together? It's typically a maniacal work ethic. It's a relentless pursuit of greatness. and that comes from somewhere in their spirit.
Yeah.
Most of them, it's probably a combination of a father wound or a naysayer or a mother wound or maybe even like a father who is a maniacal leader and a maniacal striver, and that kid or child or athlete just became what was modeled for them.
Sure.
But on the baseball level, on the football level, I don't think it's arguable that Tom Brady is the greatest football player to ever play. Based on the fruit, he's got 7 rings. In my opinion, I believe that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest slinger of the football that I've ever seen. But it's hard to argue that Tom Brady is not the GOAT.
Well, I'm going to argue that Drew Brees is the GOAT, and I'm going to tell you why I'm arguing that right here. And not that I'm make a case for Drew Brees because he has his career.
Make a case for him, bro.
But I listened to Jonathan Vilma on a. He was, if you don't know who that is, you're not big in sports. He was a
Saints
linebacker that played at the same time.
Pro Bowl linebacker,
Pro Bowl. Yeah, exactly. So this is a story that he told, and I'm just going to kind of repeat it, and you can probably find it online. But he was big into getting into the facility early, working out, studying, hitting the film before the coaching staff.
This is Vilma, right?
Vilma. So, but he said every time he get there, Drew was always ahead of him. He was the only guy ahead of him. So Vilma said, you know what? He said, I'm going to go in at 4:30. He went in at 4:30. Drew came in about 4:35, peeked in the room, said, okay, walked out. He said he never beat Drew to the facility again, ever.
Yeah.
Never beat him again. Because it was just that when you talk about that maniacal sense, it's the work ethic. It's like, I'm going to be the best because I'm going to put in the most amount of work. I'm going to work the hardest, and I think also work the smartest, right?
Yeah.
Like, cause sometimes I think we get busy, and we'll confuse that with putting in work.
No doubt. That defines the pro side of it is when you become maniacal about striving for greatness or success or honing your craft, you get caught up in, I'm in a mastermind with former football champion Steve Weatherford, and we speak once a week. He became a great friend of mine, great resource, great sensei, very disciplined guy, on fire for the Lord, great fisher of men. And we got some high level executives in there in that program with us. We have somebody who owns generational equity car dealership that has over several hundred employees and does coaching and stuff. And part of what we discuss is how to maintain a maniacal level of success, a maniacal pursuit for greatness, but also still have the margin to be a high level husband, a high level parent, a high level friend, and a high level family member. So it's not easy, but I can tell you that despite all of those gray areas, when you talk about the GOATs, when you talk about sports GOATs, Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, all of these people, Larry Bird, you are going to find Kobe Bryant, you're going to find Muhammad Ali, I'm going to keep on, you're going to find a maniacal sense of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. You're going to find
Williams, got to throw a lady in there.
Absolutely. No, you're going to find you're going to find amazing depth in self-awareness. You're going to find people who have an uncanny ability to process information at a rapid rate of speed. I don't mean digest it, I mean actually process it. So you think of something, you apply it, you change it, you make an adjustment. And you're going to find people who are driven or motivated by something, either great love or great loss. One of the three things. When Elon Musk, maybe he's in the sport of business, or you may name any tycoon, I guess you could say, they were going to be driven by great loss or great triumph. They'll be able to process information at a remarkable rate of speed, and they'll be maniacal about seeking greatness and seeking greatness, and success. That, in my opinion, is what makes them a professional. It doesn't mean that I'm advocating for everybody to go put your family or anything on the back burner, but I am saying if you want to be a pro, go find a pro that you can admire, that you look up to, that has some similar core values. Rob and deploy. There's been many years where R&D stood for research and development. We like to call it rob and deploy. There's a lot of people who change the acronym around and what the letters mean, but hey, go find a pro, mimic them, copy them, rob and deploy their tactics. Success is found in templates. No one has to If you're a believer, then you don't believe in being self-made. God put you here to fulfill a mission. Find somebody you can copy, create a template, figure out who you are, who you aren't, figure out where you're going, and turn it into a math problem. And core values will be your determinant discipline that'll help get you there. So that's our core values episode, I believe, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
We are proud to talk about those. Give us a like, share, drop some comments in the show notes if core values mean something to you. If the 5 R's of service strike a chord with you, or you want to add some flair to something that we've already done, man, we're people who just want to have conversations with people. Like if you're a Democrat, a Republican, Black, white, Hispanic, Latino, it doesn't matter. We're not interested in identity. We're interested in purpose and vision and mission. So, man, I hope this podcast will make impact. I'm going to remove the spirit of hope, and I'm going to say this podcast will make impact because people who think this way, operate this way, who are prime freaking movers are the fuel that push this country forward, the small business owner, entrepreneur, the intrapreneur. We see you, prime movers, and we're going to speak for you and speak with you.
Amen.
So that's another episode. That's episode 2 of Prime Mover Podcast. Episode 3, we got some great guests coming up. We'll be shooting again next Friday. So Happy New Year. We missed the Christmas episode because we had technical difficulties, but this is our December 29th. This is the last full work day of 2023. Man, I tell you what, my goal for 2024 is going to be growing in my intentionality, being a slave and a steward of my time and calendar. And I think 24 is going to be an amazing year. Don't listen to the naysayers. Let's get out of the doom and gloom. Maybe it's a recession, but you can choose to not participate. And at the Prime Mover Podcast, Gen X Marketing, and Gen Gators Power Systems, we're not going to participate tonight. So check us out, primemoverpodcast.com. Peace out.